The horrors of the Holocaust have inspired works of art, theater, music, film, and television. Now you can add to the list video games.
There's a new game called The Light in the Darkness, which breaks new artistic grounds by tackling the Holocaust head-on.
Our correspondent Colin Campbell has been playing the game and speaking to the man who made it.
It's set in Paris during the Second World War, and it follows a fictional family as their world is torn apart. Their freedoms are stripped away, their authorities force them to wear a star, they have to give up their tailor shop, and throughout the game, what starts off as a seemingly distant threat becomes ever and ever closer. As the Germans invade, they find that the hostility from their neighbours and from the local police increases. French police arrested 13,000 foreign Jews in July of 1942, including more than 4,000 children. They were shipped off to Velodrome d'Hiver, a stadium in the capital, and later they were deported to death camps. It's a dark chapter in French history. The state did not admit its complicity with the Nazis until 1995. Luc Bernard, an independent game developer, says he has wanted to make this game all his life. He created and entirely funded the game, which he is giving away for free.
The characters in The Light and Darkness are actually based on multiple real people which died in the Holocaust. So in order to tell the story which we wanted to tell, I took multiple testimonies and also multiple stories of victims. The Light in the Darkness plays like an interactive film, meaning there's a predetermined storyline which the player goes through and different scenes. Only, unlike a film where you're passive and just watching what happens, in The Light in the Darkness, you're actually really within the scenes since you play as multiple characters.
Nazis appear as villains in video games all the time, very often in ahistorical situations. It's a power fantasy for players to be able to mow down these villains, but players are never required to encounter or deal with what the Nazis stood for or what they wanted. Around 100,000 players have already tried the game, and Mr. Bernard thinks that it will reach around 2 million users in the next year. He hopes that teachers and educators will use the game to reach younger people who perhaps haven't experienced stories about the Holocaust in other formats.
When I first started the game, it was because the young people mostly get everything from video games because we're the biggest industry. So it started out as like a Holocaust memory project. But as I was developing it over the past 2 years, because of the rise of anti-Semitism, to me it also turned into a project which became important for the present so I could show, what anti-Semitism can lead to and how ugly it is and how similar even what we're seeing some anti-Semitic rhetoric today is similar to what was going on in Europe during World War II. I'm a big believer in making a lot of things digital so teachers can just access it because not every teacher is an expert. And also as a video game, let's be honest too, if you tell teenagers you've got a choice between playing a video game, an educational one, or reading a book, they're going to go towards video game, and then it's going to make it easier for them to pay attention in class. But also what's been interesting too with Light and Darkness, that I received a lot of emails like from African refugees who basically told me they kind of see themselves in the characters and how they think it's important for people to know because of what they've been through, about how they've also seen sometimes racism, fascism within that continent too, which, it's not exclusive. Genocide is not exclusive to Europe.
It's a video game, so you get things to do, but the choices that you're offered often turn out to be illusory. The family talks about perhaps going on the run or trying to move to America, but none of those things are realistic. And in the end, everything that is put in front of you as a possibility turns out to be futile.
For The Light in the Darkness, there is choices in the game, but they don't really matter. Because to me, Jews during the Holocaust didn't really have a choice, and it was just pure luck, if you survived. So that's why with the ending of the game, all the main characters, they do die. And I had to show it that way to be more realistic, because if you had all players managing to survive, people could get a wrong impression and think pretty much, oh, Jews could have done this could have happened, etc. In 2010, the Anti-Defamation League said the Holocaust should be off limits for video games. It wasn't about my game, it was about another game. So there has been within anti-Semitism organizations that don't quite understand video games, right? Video games should never tackle this. Because of this, this has kind of created, how can I say, like nearly a small fear within the industry. We cannot touch this. But within organizations too, the younger people, there isn't pushback at all. They're basically like, yeah, video games are why we should do this. There's even at the University of Sussex, Victoria Walden, she does loads of studies about this, video games and the Holocaust. So she's been pushing for this for a while. So among the younger people, there is a consensus that this is kind of future of Holocaust awareness. But the problem is, again, in most organizations, it's older people and people don't really know too much digital. They don't. I mean, that's why anti-Semitism is so bad on social media, because it was kind of left until it was too late.
The game arrives at an urgent moment. The Anti-Defamation League reports that anti-Semitism has reached a record high in America. Elsewhere, memories of Nazi horrors are waning as elderly survivors die. By keeping their stories alive, the game helps to inform new generations about the atrocities that Jews were forced to endure.